Thank you, brother. Well, good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. Super excited. 9 years ago, I was sitting in your seat my senior year, getting ready for my final track season, where we did go to win a state championship. So track team, we're expecting great things. I'm excited to be here, and I want to start off with a story because oftentimes, especially as we're young, we ask the question, why does history matter? Why do we spend so much time thinking about history? So I have a quick story for us to think about that question. There was a young man, and he was married to his wife, and she was cooking him a steak, and she had cut the steak in half. And he asked his wife one day after she had done it for a few years, he's like, "Why do you always cut the steak in half whenever you cook it?" And she said, "You know what? I don't know. My mama just cooked it that way." So they went and asked her mama. And the mama said, "You know what? I don't know. That's how my mama cooked it." So they went and asked the grandmama. And she said, "Well, I just cut that steak in half because my pot wasn't big enough to fit the whole steak." But we had generations that was cutting the steak in half just because they seen it, not because they needed it. See, that's why history is so important, because we'll start repeating cycles. We'll start doing things that we just seen people before us do without truly understanding why they did it. What was the reason for it? What do we believe in the same things that they believed in? See, Black History Month, there's so many different avenues that we can talk about this morning. We've often heard of the trials that Black people have had to gone through in this country, and all the overcoming and all the violence and all that stuff that went along in our nation's history. But if we look hard enough, if we search history enough, we find a whole bunch of different stories of people that overcame, of people that were white and Black that came together to do some very special things. And we can let social media, we can let the history, we can let all this stuff put division between us. But today, I'm hoping that we can look at a story that happened all the way back in the 1700s and show us what true unity can look like. And one thing I just want to define that, because oftentimes we'll use a term unity and we really mean uniformity. See, uniformity means I need you to act like me. I need you to look like me. I need you to sound like me. I need you to do the things that I do. That's not what we're going for. We're talking about true unity. Unity is you different from me, I'm different from you. But because of what I believe, Jesus Christ and God the Father created all of us, we are one. So if you like country music, I'm going to listen to some hip hop. Someone may like some jazz. Buddy did fine on the piano, right? There's differences in us. And instead of trying to shift you into becoming what I like, I'm going to embrace you and I'm going to love you and I'm going to learn what you like so we can truly look like one collective. There's one great man who done this in the 1730s. His name is Benjamin Banneker. See, I've learned about him probably about 6 months ago was the first time he came across my path. And when I was studying Benjamin Banneker, every time you study him, you see something else more amazing about him. So he was born in 1731. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland. And where he grew up, he had 100 acres of farmland. So I'm sitting here, a Black man, in 1731, born free with 100 acres of farmland. I said, how's this happen? Because if you know anything about that time period, that was not happening. So I had to dive a little bit deeper. So I dove deeper. His grandmother was in England. She was milking a cow. Back in the day, there's no phones, there's no cameras, you can't videotape nothing. So the cow kicks over the milk. They thought she stole it. They sent her over to America, so she had to work for 7 years before she could get her freedom. Once she got her freedom, she worked on a farm. That was what she did for 7 years. So she learned how to sell tobacco, how to plant and sell tobacco. So after the 7 years, she goes on and starts saving money, works as a farmer, and now she buys her some land. And then she buys her, because this is a white woman, she buys her some slaves. Well, she had a heart for the slaves because she was a slave for 7 years. So she ends up falling in love with one. So then they have children. One of the daughters' names is Mary, and that daughter works the farm, and she continues what her mother and father was doing, and they pass away, and then she ends up marrying a freed black man, and they continue working, and they end up working with 7,000 pounds of tobacco are able to buy 100 acres of farmland. Now Mr. Benjamin Banneker is born. Now, even though they had that farmland, they're still not rich. Don't think that they still aren't part of the elite crowd because there's still things that they're not allowed to access. They got their land. People can't take their land. They work in it, but they're still living modestly. Benjamin Banneker teaches himself how to read. Benjamin Banneker teaches himself mathematics. Benjamin Banneker decides, okay, I'm looking up at the stars, and through the course of the years, if I start plotting these, I can start predicting, and I can start understanding how these things move, and this is without a teacher. This is just observation. So the first point I really want us to get right here is that whatever hand you're dealt, you can overcome it. From a story that started as some spilled milk thought stealing, now ends up having 100-acre land for you and your grandkids to grow up on, flourish, and do what they're supposed to do. So no matter where you start, you do not have to stay there. That's the first thing I want you to understand. We all don't get the same starting line, but if you keep on working, if you keep on believing, if you keep on seeing the goal that you want, you can get there. So we're going to keep on going with his life. So he's doing that. He's loving the mathematics. He's loving the space, right? And then these people named Andrew Ellicott and his family moves onto land beside him. Now, who is this Andrew Ellicott? The Ellicotts are white Quakers. They're abolitionists, and they support racial equality. See, it's not enough to just not be racist. We have to be actively opposing racism. When we see it, when we hear people making these jokes, when we see things going on, it's not enough to just say, I didn't say it. We have to put our foot down and step on it and say, we're not standing for that. See, we have to be actively fighting it. That's what abolitionists is. They fight against slavery back in those days. Weren't just against it and not bought it. They actively fought against it. So his new neighbors come in. He's telling them about all the things that he knows. And again, no traditional education. This is all just what I've been able to look at, because he still has to work the tobacco farm. So this is all just what he's been dealt, what he's been working with. The Ellicotts say, oh man, this is a brilliant mind you have. Let me give you some of the books that I have. So these white Quakers, they come and they say, man, you are brilliant on your own. Let me show you what I got access to so that you can really take it to another level. So now he's still working this tobacco farm because he got to keep the family business going, but in his free time, he's reading the books. He's looking through telescopes for the first time, so now he's getting an even closer look at everything. And then in the next phase, he's able to make these things called almanacs. Now, I didn't know what an almanac was. I ain't never played in the dirt. I ain't never done no type of farming, none of that. But back in them days, and I don't know, y'all still may use something similar to them now, they would tell them when the moon and all the different sun and all that stuff, when that would happen, so you knew the best time to plant, and you knew the best time for all your crops and all of that. So he built all of these. But remember, he's a black man. So he's trying to get it published. They like, nah, we ain't finna buy none of this. We ain't gonna buy none of this. His Ellicott brothers, remember, white Quakers, they didn't try to make him a Quaker, by the way. They just loved him for who he was. White Quakers said, let me look at this. So they studied his almanac, and over the next year, his precision was 94%. They said, oh, no, y'all need to buy this brother's almanac. So then the next year, he was selling his almanacs, and everyone was using his almanac. See, again, we got to come and we got to support our brothers and sisters. It's not enough just to not be in the room talking bad about them. If you in the room, you got to be able to talk them up when you know they can do what it's supposed to do. We are our brother's keeper. We are our sister's keeper. It takes every single one of us to see each other, to believe in each other, and to love each other, to see the world that we truly want it to be. During this whole time, the Declaration of Independence and all that stuff is being written. Benjamin Banneker writes a letter to Thomas Jefferson admiring him. He's like, oh man, I love everything you're saying. I love all this. Every man's free, every man is created equal. But how can you say that if every man is not free? And one of the things that Benjamin Banneker does on the latter ends of his life, he's still working the farm, he's still doing the almanacs, but now in this other piece of life, he's studying the duality of America saying all men are created equal, but at the same time, America having slaves. And that's the type of stuff we got to sit with. We have to be able to look at the history and see the duality of things and be able to sit with it. It's only in them times when we sit with it can we truly move forward and say, these are the beauties of the people that made our country. These are the horrors of what they did when they made our country. And how can we move forward to make the country great as it's supposed to be? And it's only going to be when we decide to do it together. So Thomas Jefferson never wrote him back. He wrote many more letters throughout the time, and he would never write him back. But Benjamin Banneker really got the last laugh, because whenever they was building Washington, D.C., they asked, who can help me survey it? They asked the Ellicotts. They said, can you help us survey Washington, D.C. so we can build our nation's capital? Well, who does the Ellicotts call? Benjamin Banneker. They said, we ain't never seen a mathematician like this, because when cities are built, they not just built randomly. We're thinking about shade. They thinking about all the different things, how to make traffic less. And no, traffic was different because it wasn't cars driving and all that, carriages, people walking. You still had to think about all of that stuff. So the Ellicotts call Benjamin Banneker, and he helps landscape the whole city and map out every plot of land, all the buildings, where this is going to go, where that's going to go, because his brothers, the Ellicotts, knew his mind was like no other. So my question for y'all today is, let me tell you a little story about myself. I told you I was in y'all seats 9 years ago. I often was like, man, history's and racism something that's going to be in the past, right? I dealt with racism. I wasn't allowed to date white girls by their parents. They tell me, no, you're not good enough for my daughter. I knew that. But in my mind, I'm like, my generation's going to stop that, though. We cool. Like they said, we play sports. I'm like this with my boys. We all that. But then as you grow up, some people mirror what their parents say, and they don't like their sisters dating black people. And it's heartbreaking in that moment. Because it's like, man, we fought together. We did all this together. And in less than 10 years, that's what you reverted to. But I'm praying that y'all are the generation that sticks together. Y'all are the generation that truly is unified. Y'all is the generation that says, I see you, I love you, and not only in word, but in action. If I know my brother can do something, if I know my sister can do something, I'm pushing them. If I'm in a room they can't get in, I'm talking about them. We can only make this nation as great as it's supposed to be when we decide that it is all of us. It's not me versus you, it's us. And when we truly believe that, we'll see the world be what it's supposed to be. I love y'all, and that's it.